Hello, my true crime lovelies. How are you? Happy Tuesday. Well, actually, it's a Wednesday. Happy hump day. Happy hump day. Let me know where you're coming in from. That way I know if you can hear me. I am going to cover a little bit of the Matthew Restelli trial, or murder case, rather. So, we've talked about the Restellis before. I'm just going to do a small recap. I'm going to start referring to them. Hi, Karen. How are you? Where are you coming in from? Afton. I'm going to start referring to this case as the Mormon Adelsons. I have my blanket. I don't know why I get over here and get called. I have my blanket though, so don't worry about me tonight. But so the Mormon Adelsons, mainly because they Googled the Adelsons as part of their crime. But if you don't remember, I'll give you a quick recap. I just want to go over because the sister, they had a hearing. And if you remember, I was like, the sister was helping track him with the air tag, but she wasn't charged, right? So it's the mom, Tracy, that is charged. And then Matthew's wife, Catherine, and the brother of Catherine, the son of Tracy, Kevin, is the one who actually pulled the trigger. Let's just look at them really fast. Okay, so I've got this. If you look on the left side there, this is grandma, I guess, technically, Tracy Marie Grist Trujillo. Catherine is her daughter. Catherine was married to our victim, Matthew, and they have 3 children. I just put these. There's 2 boys and a girl, I believe. And I don't want to put their faces. This is a draft. I'm still building it out. But before, the last time we looked at this, we didn't have Kevin over here and we didn't have Rachel. I hadn't been able to find a picture of either of them. I didn't even know Rachel's name because in the affidavit, it just called her sister. And so, yeah, Kevin, he's the trigger man. He's admitted that he killed Matthew Restelli. So first of all, let me go back. So the two were having Catherine here and Matt were having some sort of marital problems. Apparently, Catherine was to the point where she was like, I absolutely want a divorce. She said to absolutely no one other than her family. She did not tell Matthew. And so she called a divorce lawyer. Wait, they're in California. Matthew and Catherine are in California. She leaves and goes to Utah with the kids and doesn't tell him in advance. And then she starts calling lawyers. And basically, they told her she should hightail it back to California. You've taken the children out of jurisdiction without your husband's knowledge or consent. So, yeah, you need to go back. And you're probably going to have joint custody. So you'll be residing in the same state. So she sent out like different text messages to her friends, like, oh, I'm fucked. I don't know what I'm going to do. And yada, yada. Right. And so then the plan is to lure Matthew to, I think it's American Fork. I want to say American Fork, Utah. And then he doesn't want to drive because he's like, I would just be going there to pick you up and drive you all the way back to California. So he's like, why don't you rent a car? Meanwhile, Tracy, the mother-in-law, is telling her daughter, like, no, you need to tell him something is wrong with your ankle. You can't drive. He needs to come here. So it's kind of that dialogue going on, right? And meanwhile, Catherine's recording all of her conversations with Matt so the police can listen to them. Perfect criminal, right? Can listen to them later. But she's like, oh, I love you. I want to go back to California, with you. Come pick us up. We're getting our stuff ready. And then she's like panicking to make sure he comes inside, or because he's sending her notes of like, my car, the truck is bad. I can't, I'm going to have to keep it running. It's leaking oil. Can you put cardboard down? I'm not going to stay very long. And she's texting like, you're going to come inside though, right? So he gets there, he goes inside. A minute later, gunshots ring out, 8 gunshots. And basically, he's gone in, he's taken off his shoes, and then he's found dead. Now, like I said, Kevin right here has already admitted to shooting him. He's saying it was in self-defense, though, right? He was like, yes, I shot him, but so he's got an affirmative defense. And then Basically, Catherine was upstairs, so she can't really provide any testimony as to how the shooting happened, but there's all this digital evidence around her luring him there, tracking him on the Apple Watch. And then what Tracy is saying, the mother-in-law, and what the facts clearly show are not consistent. So I don't want to say she's lying, but what she's saying is not consistent with what the facts are. Maybe she misremembered. You take from it what you will. So that's kind of the backstory. I found these clips because the last time we talked about it, so this is episode 3 in this Restelli, and this is available on podcast too. I don't know if I said that. This one in Sarah Boone, if you guys ever want to just listen, and you don't have to come wherever you get your regular podcast, it's there. So the state has a nice opening statement that I want to show you guys because it kind of summarizes what their theory is, what data they have. There is some testimony from one of the witnesses of the state that goes over the text messages. His reading is so flat, I couldn't get through it. I'm not going to torture you with it. If I find like the written notes, I'm going to figure out discovery on that. I'm going to work on that next week. I'll read them to you, but I'll link it in the bottom just in case you want to hear what some of the text messages were. Yeah, and then so I will play, like, let's listen to the state, their opening for this hearing, and react to that, and then we'll listen to the sister's testimony. Hers is about 50 minutes. I'm going to speed it up, but I would say that's probably going to take us about 30 minutes. This first clip is 11 minutes, so that'll be about 15 minutes, I think, by the time we react. So we will, I don't know, grab a cup of coffee. I think we'll be here for about an hour. I'll try to keep it at an hour. Okay, let's share this. Make that bigger. This is going to be the state's theory, their opening for the hearing. Oh, Lord. Come on, internet. Don't fail me now. Give me 1 second, guys. Of course. I'm going to hit refresh. Okay, there we go. Can you guys hear that okay? It's not too loud or too low.
Good morning, Judge. On July 12th, 2024,
it's a little loud for me. I'm going to turn it down.
Shot dead Matthew Restelli. The state alleges that Kevin Ellis, Tracy Grist, and Catherine Restelli conspired to murder Matt, who was Catherine's husband. In broad strokes, the state's allegation is that Catherine and Tracy worked together to lure Matt into driving to Utah and to entering Tracy's home where Kevin was waiting armed with a handgun. Almost immediately after Matthew arrived, Kevin shot and killed him. Matthew was unarmed. A knife was then planted in Matthew's hand to try and cover up the conspiracy and claim the shooting was in self-defense. We understand this is Mr. Ellis's preliminary hearing, but to explain the conspiracy and his role in it, the state will necessarily have to explain part of each individual's role in that conspiracy. To begin with, it will be helpful to understand the family connection of the persons involved and who the court will hear evidence from today. To assist with this, we've presented or created a demonstrative exhibit, a family tree, which we're going to put on the screen now. Your Honor can see Matthew Restelli on the screen. You can see a line connecting him to Catherine Restelli, who was his wife. Matthew's mother is Diane, and his brother is Mark. Matthew and Catherine had 2 minor children, a female child who at the time of the death was age 6, and a male child who at the time of the death was age 3. Catherine's mother is Tracy Grist. Tracy Grist had 7 children: Tara Lynn Fisher, Catherine, Kevin Ellis, Tim Ellis, Rachel Jorgensen, Jacob Trujillo, Aurora France. The court will receive an 11:02 today from Diane. It will hear testimony from Rachel. Other evidence will come in through text messages and phone calls from some of these other persons. Your Honor, at this point, I will now give a brief, roughly 5 to 6 minute overview of the state's evidence that will be presented today, as we present our theory that Matthew was ambushed and murdered by some of his in-laws. During the spring and summer months of 2024, Matthew and Kate had a strained relationship. They lived in California at that time. Kate viewed this as a loveless marriage, one from which her options to leave on terms she wanted or severely limited. The fractured relationship led Kate to having affairs and ultimately separating from Matthew on June 20th, 2024. She took their two young children to live at her mother's house in American Fork. Sometimes this was referred to as a breather or a break. The evidence will show that after Kate came to Utah, Kate and her family learned how hard it would be for her to separate from Matthew in a divorce and get everything she wanted. At this time, California would still have jurisdiction over the children in any custody battle or dispute. As Kate put it to a friend, honestly, I'm expletive. I just feel hopeless. The evidence will show that although Kate had wanted out with a divorce, a backup plan, if you will, of murder developed. A plan that began with Kate and Tracy, but eventually included Kevin as well. The state believes the evidence of the execution of that backup plan can be broken down into one of several phases. Phase 1 was to get Matt to Utah. Phase 2 was to get Matthew inside of Tracy's home. Phase 3 was to kill Matthew. And Phase 4 was to cover it up. I will briefly describe each. Phase 1, getting Matt to Utah. See, for this conspiracy to work, Matthew would have to come to Utah. The evidence will show that Matthew wanted Kate and the kids to come home, but it will also show that Matt did not actually want to come to Utah to get them. He tried various other means to get them to come home. He tried to rent a car for Kate. He then tried to just give Kate money so she could rent a car. But Kate and Tracy worked together to create lies and falsehoods as to why that wouldn't work. The court will receive messages documenting those excuses. Kate continually and consistently worked to convince Matt to come to Utah, and not only that, to drive to Utah. And she convinced him to drive a very specific car, their truck. You will hear a phone call between Matt and Kate where he talked about borrowing a car, but Kate was insistent he had to bring the truck. Question is why? Because an Apple AirTag had been placed inside that truck, buried in a bin of trash. An AirTag that Matt did not know about. Kate made sure he brought that truck because the AirTag would allow the Grist family, multiple members of the family, including Kevin, to track him on his drive. But even though Kate had convinced Matt to drive to Utah in the truck, the family could track him.
How creepy is that? That multiple people in her family are tracking him via AirTag and he has no idea. And that's what I was questioning before, is like, did the sister get a plea? How come no charges came? She's going to explain it like after he's done with his closing. I just want you guys to keep that in mind though. Like, is it what she says it is? Like, which one is more plausible? Because like they had a group chat, they're all tracking him, and he was intentionally directed to be in that truck, even though it was leaking oil, even though he was worried he couldn't turn it off. He's driving from one state to another, and they're like, bring the raggedy truck. Why? Because the AirTag is in there. Like, they just plotted against him. It's my worst nightmare. I know it might sound crazy. I don't like surprise parties for that reason, because I feel like a bunch of people have been lying behind I know it's supposed to be for fun. I have anxiety. But that's what I imagine. Like, did he have a feeling? Did any kind of like alarm go off for him that his entire the in-law clan is tracking him and plotting his demise?
Or yet be another problem. How would they get Matt to come to the house? See, the phone calls between Matt and Kate the court will receive today will show that Matt had one purpose. He was there to pick up his little family and go back to California. He even stated he didn't even want to go in the house. He didn't even want to turn off the truck. He just wanted to wait outside for them to come out with their bags. He would load them up and they would start to drive. See, one reason Matt didn't want to go inside the house is because he and Tracy, to put it fairly or nicely, just didn't get along. In fact, on a June 6, 2024 text message by Tracy to her daughter, she said, quote, Matt made it so I want to kill him. He straight up lied. I'm gonna kill him. Despite that fractured relationship between Matt and Tracy, over multiple phone calls and messages with Matt, Kate persisted in giving him a false sense of security that it would be okay to enter the home. She told him the doors were unlocked. She told him her mother, Tracy, would be asleep. In fact, Tracy told Kate to tell Matt something to the effect of, "I'll be as sweet as sugar to him." Meanwhile, the family was monitoring that AirTag. Again, Kevin was part of the group that could track Matt through that AirTag. We know that he could monitor it at least as early as June 26, which was over 2 weeks before the killing. In one text message exchange with Kevin,
Bookworm. Oh my God.
Kevin told Kate that he
Bookworm.
could
Good
come
to see
back to
you.
Utah from a trip to Idaho if Matt came to Utah from California. Specifically, he said, quote, "If I have to rush back, I can make that happen." He then sent Catherine a screenshot of Matt's Apple AirTag location through the tag in the truck. Throughout the day of the homicide, there were numerous phone calls between the family, along with messages, many of which discussed Matt, and preparations were made throughout the day. Tracy had a private lunch with Kevin at a local sushi bar, and only a few days before that, Tracy had deleted her entire chat history with Kevin. The youngest daughter, who lived in the home, was sent away for the night. Together, the family monitored Matt while Kate worked to get Matt to come into the home. All the while, an audio from a phone call placed just a few hours before his arrival, Matt's arrival, shows that he didn't want to turn off the car, but in fact, he asked Kate specifically to put out a piece of cardboard so he didn't leak oil on the sidewalk or the road for the very few minutes he'd be parked there. During these phone calls, Kate consistently told Matt how much she loved him and how she was excited to go home with him. And this is despite the fact that she told a friend that night that she had allegedly told Matt she wasn't coming home with him. But then, right after that phone call, she texted Matt the gate code to the gated community the Grist and Ellis home was.
Welcome, Bookworm. Yes, I'm calling them the Mormon Adelsons. They did a lot of Googling. They compared themselves. And so it'll come up here. But yeah, it's just the plotting that they did, the luring that they did is a little more worrisome. Well, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, right? Because the Markells the Adelsons weren't all involved in tracking him. They distanced themselves, which I guess gave them peace of mind. These folks were all, like they said, mom and son went to sushi days before. Then she deleted all their chat messages. You guys know too, right? Like when you delete something, it's not gone. It's basically like all the data, let's just say it's on there with like super glue, right? And once you delete it, it just removes the super glue, but it's not actually removing the thing. So then it's sitting there. And then when something else comes along, it can replace it. So she deleted it, and it probably just had in her like the log of all the deletions, but they're still sitting there. Do you know? She clearly was not researching. She's researching the Adelsons, she specifically researched Donna Adelson, who's about to go to trial. Ma'am, pick better role models.
Was inside of. Then at 10:01 p.m., just minutes before Matt's arrival, Rachel, one of the sisters, texted Tracy and Kevin to look at the AirTag. And the metadata on Rachel's phone shows that Kevin's phone read that message. We move to phase 3, what the state alleges is an ambush. Matt entered the gated community, and a neighbor's security camera observed Matt's truck pulling up to the Grist or Ellis home at 10:06 p.m. Matt took approximately 30 seconds to park. He even left his hazard lights on. At 10:07 p.m., the neighbors heard gunshots from the home. At 10:09 p.m., the neighbors called 911. It wasn't until 6 minutes later, or around 8.5 to 9 minutes after the shooting, that Tracy called 911. Your Honor, you will hear the surprise in Tracy's voice as she found out the neighbors had already called 911, because that was not part of their plan. Just 2 minutes into her phone call, you will hear the police arrive, having been dispatched from the prior report by the neighbors. They later called Matt an armed intruder, but the evidence will show that Matt was neither armed nor an intruder. After all,
so that part is important too, the timing of it. Like he just said, so the neighbor heard the shot, and I want to say 4 minutes off the top of my head. They called 4 minutes later and they explained it as like they heard the shot, and then they took a minute. It might have been 2 minutes. They took like, was that a shot? The conversation, is it? Let's call. And so they call, and then it was like about 9 minutes later that Tracy, the mother-in-law, called, because they were arranging things. And I'm not even going to say allegedly. Somebody was doing something because the victim was found with a hunting knife in his non-dominant hand. He's left-handed. They put a hunting knife. Someone put a hunting knife in his right hand and closed his hand around it. And they know this because once they took the body to the medical examiner, they found a bullet through his wrist. And so if you're shot in the hand and you are holding a knife, your reflex is going to not hold on to the knife anymore. So it had to be placed there. Also, even if he had the knife and had been advancing toward Kevin, if Matt had the knife, just the being shot in the wrist kind of blows it all. And the knife is tied to the mom because she was helping a friend. Her husband died in California and they were clearing out things. And there's some like box kit you get with guns, hunting, whatever. And so the knife, the brand of the knife comes in that kit, and she had been there. So she took that knife from California from her friend who she's supposed to be helping, who's grieving, and she's supposed to be helping clean out the house. She helps herself to a knife and takes it to Utah. And that is the knife that ends up in Matthew's hand, which is why Kevin is saying he was coming at me with the knife. Meanwhile, when you get in the house, his two little shoes are there by the door. So all of that to say, they didn't have time to stage it properly because the neighbor had already initiated the phone call. So the police were already en route. So while Tracy was on the phone or shortly after she hung up, the police are already there, right? And they're still arranging things.
He was given the gate code, specifically told the front door to be open and that he should just come right on in. Which leads us to the fourth phase, Your Honor, what we call the cover-up or the obstruction. When police came in, they did find a knife in Matthew's hand. Now, outside of that 8 or 9 minute delay in calling 911, there are at least 3 pieces of evidence the state will present today to suggest that that knife was planted in Matthew's hand. First, the knife was being held backwards. Second, the knife was held in the wrong hand. See, the knife was found in Matthew's right hand, but Matthew Restelli was left-handed. And third, there was a bullet hole in the wrist of Matthew Restelli's forearm, where the wrist and forearm come together. A bullet had perforated his ulna and severely damaged the muscles that provide the flexion and tension in a grip. Your Honor, you will watch the body cam of the 3 co-defendants and be able to observe numerous inconsistent statements. You will hear connections between Tracy. You hear about connections between Tracy and a company that supplies the exact type of knife that was found in Matthew's hand. You will hear that on June 16th, 2024, Tracy Google searched Utah shoot break-in. And you will hear that on July 11th, 2024, the day before the killing, Tracy searched, when was Donna Adelson arrested? Donna Adelson is a woman charged with hiring a hitman to kill her son-in-law. Your Honor, the evidence today will show that the person Tracy conspired with to kill her son-in-law, Matt, was not a hitman, but her own son, Kevin. Thank you.
So, okay, there. Sorry. I've got it on 2 screens and apparently I turned the audio on the other one. So imagine that is your mother. She's taking you out to sushi to discuss, and you're Kevin, you're the son, right? And she's Googling Donna Adelson and she knows that Charlie Adelson was involved, and Charlie Adelson at this point has already been convicted and his mother has been arrested. That's why she's Googling the arrest. It was that week. Remember when Donna was flying to, if you followed the Adelson case, when she was flying to Vietnam, she had that, they call it a hot mic call, but she thought Charlie, well, it wasn't fully connected. She thought Charlie would come back on the line, and all of that was being recorded. And so knowing that Charlie had just been convicted to life plus 60 years, and Charlie was not the trigger man, right? She then solicits her own son to be the trigger man in her home. And there's more. I'm going to get to the sister next, but I just want to kind of talk about the depravity a little bit because I just like balls of a burglar, right? Did she want to be like John Adelson? Was she trying to prevent it? Like, why was she looking at that as a connection? And there was conversations about not telling the children that their dad was coming because they wanted to keep them upstairs, but part of the charges are that the children were present, right? And I was going to show you guys because he said they had 2 kids and there are 3, but I guess the other one, I said this in the other video, but let me just show you guys this picture of what I can show you because you guys are probably like, Tanika, did you say? Because he said. So there's a young man here. I'm not showing it. I promise you there's a young man. Let me get him on the screen. I put a little green face because I'm just want to be mindful of the children. Because I realize like when I consume content about cases, I'm watching a lot of creators. If I keep hearing the names, it sticks with me and I just want to let the kids be free, be young and free. But so this is their wedding photo and there's this young man. So I believe this is her son coming into the marriage. I'm making an assumption. I could totally be wrong. If you guys know differently, feel free to correct me. And then I believe they had the son and the daughter together, which is why I had the 3 dots on that other PowerPoint slide. But yeah, so the oh my God, Sugar Bear's cam was on over there. He's asleep. But yeah, so the kids are there. You're pretending that he's not supposed to be there, but you lured him there. I imagine Matt was not expecting his brother-in-law to come out shooting with like 8 shots, no less. Do you know what I mean? That seems like an excessive use of force to me. 8 shots. For what is that old saying? Like, don't come to a gunfight with a knife, like, because they're not equally situated, right? You could have disarmed him, no, or kicked the knife out. Like 8 shots. It is, yeah. So the mom is very influential over all the kids, and the mom has 7 kids. I don't have all of their names or photos, but you kind of heard him list them off. I showed you what I have. I don't know how many dads there are involved in it, which is why I had like father's question mark, because I know there's a Trujillo, which is what her last name is supposed to be now. And there's one of the children has that name. And then I don't know what Catherine's name was. Then the brother is Ellis, and the sister who we're going to look at next, her name is Jorgensen, Rachel, but it's hard with the women because they could have taken the husband's name, right? There's a lot of people involved. So I would say Tracy, the mother-in-law, has a broad network, right? When you have 7 kids and then their siblings and their fathers, if they don't all, there's a lot going on, and she appears to be pretty influential. So this next one is the sister. I'm gonna do questions first, and then just in case, because I don't want to skip over anything or have to double back. So let's just look at what's going on. Who's zooming who? Oh, thank you. I try. I didn't think about it at first when I first started. So I do like, they are not real. They're also victims, you know? But yeah, they are. And also, as your own mother, basically, so if your mother has you pulling the trigger and she's supposed to be the witness that I guess saves you or confirms that this other person was attacking you, why would you be willing to risk your son going to prison for life, do you know, instead of getting a divorce? Like, is it because you have so much hubris that you think you can get away with it? I'm beginning to question myself. Like, maybe all these people, that's just part of a personality disorder where they just don't care about consequences, or their brain doesn't allow them to process that what they're doing is going to get them caught. Like the AirTag, for example. I just don't know how they thought they were going to get away with it. She's giving him the code. She also told him, just come on in. They just like laid in wait, which usually that's an extra charge, but maybe because he's, I don't know, is that an extra charge? Is it if you're in a position of power? I'm not sure. Okay, let's get to the sister's going to take the stand and what her involvement is. I have it at 1.25. If that is too fast or too slow, let me know in the chat and I will follow the majority. Is it up? Okay.
Please wait for them to finish asking the question before you respond. Likewise, please wait for them to finish asking the question before you respond. Likewise, they know they're allowed to finish responding before they ask you a question. It's also important that you respond only to the questions that have been asked of you and do not become differential different types of comments. Okay? If you don't understand the question, don't yes, just tell them that. Thank you. Mr. Matani.
Rachel, thank you for being here today. I know it's not easy. Is it okay if I call you Rachel for today's hearing? Would you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Rachel Jorgensen, Jorgensen.
And Rachel, do you know who Kevin Ellis is? And how do you know him?
He is my oldest brother.
Okay, do you see him here in courtroom today?
Can I stop for a second? Would you pull the mic forward to you?
Oh, sorry.
And it slides all the way. You can put it right in front of you. Can you pull that up so we can hear you better?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
So,
sorry.
do you see Kevin Ellis in courtroom today?
I do.
Can you point to him and identify something he's wearing?
In the middle with the bracelet on.
For the court note for the record, she's identified defendant.
So noted.
Can you just tell me a little bit about your family? Can you tell me how many siblings you have?
I am one of 7 siblings.
And are you able to give me their names in the order from oldest to youngest?
Carolyn Fisher, Catherine Restelli, Kevin Ellis, Tim Ellis, myself, Rachel Jorgensen, Jacob Trujillo, and Aurora Franz.
And who's your mother?
I'm sorry,
Who's your mother?
Tracy Christ.
Okay, and is she the mother to all of your siblings?
Correct.
And how often do you talk to your siblings and your mom?
Frequently, I would talk to my mom and sisters if we audibly went more than 2 days without talking.
Would you say you're a pretty close family?
Yes.
You guys vacation together?
Yes, correct.
Holidays together?
Yes.
Okay. How many people have significant others or live outside of the house?
Myself and I'll go from the top. Carolyn Fisher has a husband. Catherine Restelli has Matthew Restelli. Myself has a husband, and my brother Tim Ellis has a long-term girlfriend.
Okay. Do the other siblings live with Tracy?
My 2 younger siblings, as well as Kevin Ellis, was residing with Tracy. Yes.
Okay. And where do they live?
American Fork, Utah.
Okay. And when was the last time you lived with Tracy?
I would say when I was 18 or 19 years old.
Okay. Did you ever live in that house in American Fork?
Shortly, yes.
Okay. How old are you now?
25.
Okay. And when you were living in the house, who was living there at that time?
It would have been, I don't believe my brother Tim was there, but it would be my 2 younger siblings, and then my husband Michael Jorgensen briefly stayed with us as well.
Okay. And do Catherine Restelli and Matthew Restelli have children?
They do.
How many children do they have?
2.
And are they under the age of 18?
Correct, yes.
How old are they?
Cheyenne is 7. She just had a birthday, and then Seal is 4.
Okay. Statement moved to admit State's Exhibit 116.
No objection.
And that's the family chart. How long have Catherine and Matthew been married?
I don't know the exact year. I think it's less than 10, maybe closer to 8 or 9.
Okay. And were you there? How old were you when you got married? If you can remember?
I can't recall. I probably would have been like 13.
And how well did you know Matthew?
I would only see him when we would vacation to California and would visit their home or spend time with them. So I would not say well.
Okay. Did you know roughly how many times you maybe saw him?
I would say less than 10 times.
Did you stay at their house?
Yes.
And what kind of property did they live on?
I don't know the city, but it was definitely very like isolated. It was very lots of dirt around their property. I think they might have had acreage, but I'm not sure. No grass, just a house on top. I know they had property that went down the hill that was for, I think, a trailer, as well as I think Matthew had his shop on the other side of the property as well.
And is that California?
Yes, correct.
Southern California?
Yes.
Did you ever observe the relationship between Kate and Matt?
When I was with visiting, yes, I would see them interacting.
What did you notice anything different? Or there was anything different about that? Or?
They would have, I felt as if they would have short fuses with each other. I felt like they could kind of get under each other's skin. Yes.
Did you ever see anything violent or anybody getting violent with each other when you were there?
No, I would see anger between the 2 of them, but never any physical violence.
Okay. Did Kate ever confide in you kind of what their relationship was like with Matthew?
Not myself. Myself being unmarried for most of their marriage. I feel like that wasn't a common ground for us to discuss, and she chose to speak with other family members about that.
Okay. Who was Catherine closest to in your family?
I would either say my mom, Tracy First, or my sister, Carolyn Fisher.
Okay. And did Kevin have any kind of relationship with Matthew that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Is your family's really close? Does that include your extended family as well?
I like to think so.
Okay. Why do you think that? What do you guys do together?
We would just always try to include the extended family whenever we.
Is the speed okay, you guys? It's at 1.25. Let me know if it's too
travel to
fast.
California, such as trips and vacations, and extend gift exchanges to them to make sure that they were also included and things like that.
Family chats, group chats, things like that?
Yes.
Okay. And was Matthew a part of that?
Yes, I do know that he was part of a Snapchat group chat. I'm not sure if he stayed in it or if he left at any point.
Okay. Was he participating in vacations and would he come over for holidays and things like that?
Yes.
And where were most of the holidays? Whose houses were those usually at?
If it was in Utah, it would be at my mom, Tracy Chris's home in American Fork, and if it was in California, it would be in Carlsbad, California, at the home of Carolyn Fisher.
Oh, sorry, I don't remember if I asked you this, but do you remember if Kevin and Matt had a relationship? I think I did ask you that.
You did ask that. I don't quite know the events of their relationship.
Okay, but did they ever talk to each? You see them talking to each other? Or anything like that?
I feel like when we were all together on like a holiday, yeah, I feel like they would naturally just have conversations here and there.
Could you tell if Matt was was he particularly close with anyone in your family or extended family?
He tended to gravitate towards the men. I feel like it just was a more natural conversation flow, and so he would. I know my husband said that. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Would he gravitate more to the in-laws or to your brothers, or was it about the same, or could you tell?
I would say it was about the same.
What about Tracy's relationship with Matt?
I would say that it was strained from my perspective. That they did, like you guys have said, they do bump heads with certain things.
Okay, how long had that been going on?
I felt, from my perspective, the entire time I had known, I have memories of that.
Okay, and they just did not like each other?
Yeah, I just don't think that they agreed on certain things. And Kate would confide in my mom with anything going on with their marriage. So I feel like she probably knew enough to maybe make her not feel the best towards them.
Would Tracy talk bad about Matt a lot?
I would not say a lot, but she would openly express her feelings about him when Kate would call her and she would talk about it.
Okay, did either Kate or Tracy ever talk to you about wanting Kate to divorce Matt?
Yes.
How frequently?
I feel like I've only heard of it within the last couple of years. Like I said, Kate didn't really discuss her marriage status with me and her issues or happiness with him, just based on what I think she was comfortable with sharing with me.
Okay. Okay.
Oops, that's Kevin there, right? And at first when I saw him, I thought he was in a bathrobe. I was like, is he going for crazy? But I think it's just an oversized cardigan thingy, you know. He is in custody. Yeah, but he's in this outfit. I know they denied bond. We went over that, I think, in the very first episode of this. I can't remember, but we did cover it.
I've handed you what's marked as State's Exhibit 1.
Did you get one?
Yes. Do you recognize what that is?
Yes, I do.
And what are those?
These are text messages between myself and my mom, Tracy Grist.
Okay, and do you know what date those were?
It's showing as 6/6/24.
Okay, statement to State's Exhibit 1.
No objection. Thank you, so bit.
Can you read the text where Tracy was talking about Matt?
Plus, Matt made it so I want to kill him. When Katie asked about whatever I had said about her being in the camper too much when I never said anything, he straight up lied, I'm gonna kill him.
Okay, what is she talking about the camper? Do you know what that story was about?
Yeah, so she had talked to me about it after the fact. She had told me that she was visiting them. I don't know for any specific reason, but she was on vacation at their property and she was staying there at their house. And Matt had told Katie that my mom, Tracy Grist, had confided in Matt and told him that she did not like how much Katie was in the camper And so Matt had told Katie that my mom had said that, which then, of course, Katie came back and brought it to my mom's attention, which then she claimed that that was a lie that Matt was telling to Katie.
Okay, so just to kind of understand, so was Tracy upset that Matt was trying to say that, basically pit Tracy against Kate? Is that what that was about?
That's correct.
Okay. And was Tracy pretty upset about that?
Yes.
Okay. So that was in June of this year, is that correct?
Correct.
At what point did you learn that Catherine was going to move out to Utah?
I learned that she would be visiting. I don't know about moving, but I can't quite actually tell you the day. I know that we have a text message you're probably going to refer to at some point that actually highlights the day that I found out. Or actually, never mind, that's actually when Matt was coming. It was actually a few weeks before she came out. I couldn't tell you the day.
Okay, and what was that conversation about? How do you know she was moving out?
I knew that she was preparing to come visit because she was gathering belongings to put in a storage unit, things that she felt were personal or valuable to herself or her family over time.
And why would she put those in a storage unit?
From my understanding, when she was going to be leaving the home to go to my mom's house, she wasn't sure how Matthew would react and was worried that anything valuable or important might get broken out of anger or just a reaction from Matthew.
Okay. And
so that is also very much an Adelson move. Although I feel like we'll find out more at Donna's trial because they went all the way back, and Donna's diary notes, like she's very meticulous. When did they plan the movers? You know what I mean? But anyway, let's stick to one case at a time. So the wife has rented a storage unit and is planning to go to Utah. She's putting things in storage because at least what her sister is saying is that his reaction, he might destroy things. But you're also stealing technically, because when you go through a divorce, and especially in California, my home state, it is a community property state. So she could potentially be sneaking off assets. I'm not saying that's what she's doing, but you leave yourself open to that sort of speculation being made about your actions, especially when we know that you lured him to another state because you didn't want to share custody.
Okay, and at some point did you learn about an AirTag being placed in Matthew's truck?
Yes.
When did you learn about that?
I don't recall the day, actually.
Roughly.
I would say a few days before Katie had left. Not quite positive, honestly.
Okay. Were you part of that AirTag? Were you able to see the AirTag at some point?
Yes.
And who did you learn out who put the AirTag in the truck?
As far as I'm aware, it was left in the truck from a previous vacation with the family.
Okay. That's your understanding, is that's how it ended up in the truck?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it might have stayed in there or not, but we used it for a trip, and I'm not sure.
Okay. At some point, did the tag? What did the tag say? What was the visual when you would pull up the tag?
It would just say truck, and then they changed the emoji to a poop emoji.
Do you know who did that?
From my understanding, it was Carolyn.
Okay. But at some point, you realized that this tag was to trap Matt. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And who else was able to view that?
From my understanding, it was the family members who had the location of the AirTag due to the previous trip to Disneyland in February. So myself, I know that my husband had the location unknowingly, I guess. Carolyn Fisher had an iPad for her child that she was able to see the AirTag location. I do know that eventually Kevin was added to the AirTag.
So Kevin was added after Katie had left?
That's my understanding, yes.
Who did you hear that from?
I want to say it was from Carolyn. It was Katie was wanting to see the location of the AirTag, but because she didn't have an iPhone to utilize the Find My app.
Terralyn is one of the siblings. I'm guessing they coached her to say their full names because she says her mom's name each time. Although I know some people do call their parents by their first name. But anyway, Terralyn Fisher, that's one of the siblings that she rattled off earlier. And so the brother, Kevin, the shooter, did not go to Disneyland and wasn't a part of that. This is the part that I don't buy. It just happened to be in there and you left it in there because she goes through great lengths. The wife, who they are calling Katie, Catherine, to make sure he drives that vehicle, and it's not running well. He doesn't even want to turn it off, and it's leaking oil. And Bookworm, thank you for that. You were saying it takes like 11 hours to get there, a 10 to 11 hour drive. So they got him riding in a hoopty so they can lure him to his, I mean, I guess that works out for them if he dies on the way, right?
The location of the air tag was shared with Kevin, so then she could see the location.
Okay. And at some point, did Catherine have her own iPad that also was on the location?
I'm not sure.
So what was your understanding of why she was coming to Utah?
For a break or space from Matthew Restelli.
Do you know when she got to Utah, was she starting to like move on from Matthew at that point or anything?
Yeah, I would say so.
Why would you say that?
As she settled and she began to go on a dating app or apps, I'm not sure, but she did start going on dates.
Okay. And that was before the day that Matt was killed?
Yes.
She had a date that night. It was either that night or the next night. So she had already had it queued up before he even got there. So that just shows she was never intending to go to California, had he pulled a knife or not, you know? Make it make sense.
Did Katie ever talk to you about any of those dates?
No.
Did she ever tell you about talking to an attorney or anything? A divorce attorney?
I believe she briefly mentioned that it would be, yeah, I think she did.
Okay. Were there any other conversations that you can remember where the plan was that Kate was actually going to divorce Matt and stay in Utah?
I do know that she was wanting to divorce Matt. I don't remember if there were any plans made permanently for her to stay in Utah.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the day that Matt was killed. How long had Catherine been in Utah at that point?
Probably would have been a few weeks, if I'm correct.
Okay. And at some point, did you learn that Matthew was driving out to Utah?
Yes.
When did you find that out?
I couldn't tell you the day. I think I found out the morning that he was driving.
Okay. How did you find that out?
I was told on the phone.
By who?
I would Katie.
Okay. And had you been tracking Matthew at all at that point? On that day?
Yes.
Okay. Why were you doing that?
I felt more comfortable knowing where he was at, just to, I guess, know when to expect him and to where that's at.
Okay. Was there anything that made you nervous about Matthew coming out?
Yeah, I wasn't sure his state of mind that he would be in arriving. If he would be angry, or even if their conversation would be cordial with each other. And so I was nervous about that aspect.
Okay. So you find out you're talking to Katie. Did you talk to her on the phone?
Yes.
And that's where you found out about it?
Yes.
And what did she say in the phone conversation?
I can't recall the phone call. I do remember texting his sister about it, but I can't recall the phone call itself.
Okay. I'd like to approach or State Exhibit 2. Stop. State Exhibit 2?
Yep.
Okay. How do you approach State Exhibit 2? Do you recognize what that is?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
These are Facebook Messenger conversations between me and my sister Carolyn Fisher.
Okay. And in those text messages, or those Facebook messages, at some point do you talk to Tara Lynn about that phone conversation you had with Katie?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And do you remember what you told Tara Lynn?
Yes.
What did you say?
I told her that Kate talked him into coming out.
Okay. State would move to admit State's Exhibit 2.
No objection?
No objection.
And do you remember now what that was about or why Katie said that?
Yes, apparently they had two other cars, Leon Anderson. So she has a car that's at the house, and then they have another, like a family car, right? He has a car, she has a car, they have a family car. She did not take her car to Utah, and there is I can't remember if it's going to come up in this testimony, but in the records, there is phone calls where she's recorded talking to him. So even while the sister is saying she wanted to know where he is, the wife keeps calling him and she's recording all the calls. And then there's an accidental dial in there. But anyway, there are other cars. She wanted him in that car because that's the car that they hid the tracker in.
As I can remember, I was repeating what Katie had said to me on that call, saying that she had talked Matt into coming out to Utah.
Okay. And do you remember how long that phone conversation was with Katie?
Honestly, no.
If I said it was about 20 minutes, would that sound about right?
That would not surprise me.
Okay. Do you remember if you talked to Tara Lynn while you were talking to Katie?
I don't, but it is very likely.
Okay. Was there ever a time during that day that you talked to both Katie and Tara Lynn at the same time, like on a group call or?
I would say yes. can't quite recall, but we tended to merge calls pretty frequently.
And would that have been talking about Matthew at that point?
Assuming, yes, if it was the day of him coming out.
Okay, and also on that same call, what about your mom, Tracy?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you remember Tracy also jumping on the call at the end, potentially?
Probably, yes.
Okay, do you remember specifically that you talked to both Catherine and Tracy then on the call that day?
I can't recall.
Okay, but is it possible that you did?
It is really possible, yes.
What did you do after you got off the phone call with Kate?
I had contacted my younger sister Aurora friends, as well as my younger brother, Chico Trio.
And what did you contact them for?
I wasn't so in regarding to Aurora, I wasn't sure if she was caught up to speed on what was going on. She didn't talk with myself and my sisters and mom as often as we talked with each other. So I had just given her a call to give her a heads up that Matt was coming out. At that point, I did extend her the invitation to come spend the night at my house. If she did not feel comfortable being home while Matt was there, she doesn't have people that she could go spend the night with should she have felt uncomfortable or not wanted to be present while he was there. So I extended that invite.
So that seems a little iffy to me also. So if she didn't want to be present while he was there because he was running in and out, like she potentially could have gone to, I don't know, Denny's or whatever, Cracker Barrel, whatever they have, wherever they are, and not have to spend the night. There just seems to be a lot of conversations about Matt's in town and announcing that he's coming. Maybe that's what happens in close-knit families. I have a large family, but we didn't all grow up in the same house. And so, you know, some of my sisters, I tell stuff to that I don't tell the other ones to. I don't know, but it just seems like a huge concerted effort to like, where is Matt? Let's track Matt instead of where's Waldo. They are looking for him in the daytime with a flashlight.
To her, which she probably took.
Okay, and then when you called Jacob, what was that conversation about? Or why did you?
I'll go back a little bit. Hang on.
Okay, but is it possible that you did?
It is really possible, yes.
Okay. What did you do after you got off the phone call with Kate?
I had contacted my younger sister Aurora friends, as well as my younger brother, Chico Trio.
And what did you contact them for?
I wasn't so in regarding to Aurora, I wasn't sure if she was caught up to speed on what was going on. She didn't talk with myself and my sisters and mom as often as we talked with each other. So I had just given her a call to give her a heads up that Matt was coming out. At that point, I did extend her the invitation to come spend the night at my house. If she did not feel comfortable being home while Matt was there, she doesn't have people that she could go spend the night with should she have felt uncomfortable or not wanted to be present while he was there. So I extended that invite to her, which she probably took.
Okay, and then when you called Jacob, what was that conversation about? Or why did you call Jacob?
I called him for the same reason, just to give him the heads up of the latest information that I had. I don't believe that I extended the invite to him, just knowing that he had friends that he had frequently spent the night with on previous times, so that he had people to go be with should he not feel comfortable being there.
And do you know if he accepted or declined your invitation?
Oh, I didn't extend.
Oh, you didn't extend. I'm sorry. Okay. And did you call Tim as well around that time?
I might have, I can't recall,
Okay.
but it's likely that if I called my two other siblings, I probably did.
Okay. And just to kind of explain the situation of what was going on, is that fair to say?
Yes.
I have States Exhibit 3. I'd like you to look at that. Do you recognize what that is?
Yes,
And what are those?
it is text messages between my brother Kevin Ellis and I.
Okay, and are those from the date of July 12, 2024?
That's correct.
And they fairly and accurately represent what the text messages were?
Yes.
State meeting States Exhibit 3.
Any objection, Mr. Myers? No objection. Thank you. No objection.
And did you text Kevin about 10:01 p.m.?
Yes.
And what did you text him?
Or keep an eye on Find My.
And what did you mean by that?
Throughout our tracking and then checking of the AirTag app, we had come to the conclusion that one person's AirTag would ping a live location, whereas when you compare it with another person's, it might be a 30-minute delay or like show the location last known an hour ago. And so that was me extending the location if assuming it hadn't updated properly on theirs.
Okay, and Orem is, what is Orem?
A city just a few minutes away from.
So did you guys catch that? On the AirTags, they're not all updating, or I'm sorry, the AirTag is not updating on all of the devices at the same time of the location. There's a lag for some of them, right? And not others. So she saw that he was in Orem, and she, God forbid, did not want anyone else to think he was somewhere else. sent out a group text of he's in Orn, check your air tag. It's probably like if you hit it, it'll refresh it. You know how some apps will run in the background? Well, I guess it depends on your settings, because you can say like don't update or automatic updates or whatever. Anyway, whatever it is, I didn't know that about an air tag, and I'm not that thirsty that I need to, if I would tag anything, it might be a piece of luggage, but I don't need to notify 7 other people that my luggage has moved, because I'm not committing crimes. No criming.
From American court.
So was it your intention to basically tell Kevin, check your iPhone, Matt's close?
Yes.
Okay. And I'd like to hand you what's marked as State's Exhibit 4. Do you recognize what that is?
Thanks, Yana.
Yes, I do.
And what are those?
These are text messages between my mom, Tracy Grist, and I.
Okay, are those from July 12th, 2024?
Yes, there are some dated back to July 9th, but yes, most of them are the 12th.
Okay. They fairly and accurately represent the text messages. You remember them?
Yes.
State News and State's Exhibit 4.
Can you just put these on, because they're actually not coming in order of the attachment on the email. This is,
We're 2 subscribers away from 10,000. Will it happen tonight or today? I guess it's the beginning of the day. We still got 23 hours.
You don't have binder on the emails? Oh, is that I thought it was mine. That's the engineer. Okay, now we can go along with that reading the email.
So he's the only one here today. I don't see his sister or his mom.
No, I don't have any objection now. I understand what you.
The sister, the wife, the ex-wife, or whatever.
Oh, wait. I can't remember where we were.
You were asking a bit.
Oh, yeah, State News and State's Exhibit 4.
Mr. Williams is not objecting, so they're admitted.
Okay. Did Tracy tell you about meeting Kevin that day?
Yes, they met for sushi that day.
Did she? What time was that at?
She texted me that she was meeting Kevin at 2:41.
Okay, p.m.
Yeah.
And did she? And also at that point, did you text
Thanks,
Tracy
OnlyFans.
a text message close to 10 p.m. that night?
Yes,
And
correct.
what did you text her?
It says forum, as well as keep an eye on Find My.
And why did you text Tracy that?
The same reason that I had sent it to Kevin as well, just for the delay in location status for other people.
And why didn't you text Catherine that as well?
I had assumed that my mom and Katie were probably together at that point and just hadn't texted both of them.
Okay. Is there a reason you didn't just do like a group text or?
No, I don't know why I didn't just do it as a group text.
Okay, one moment.
We're 1 away.
And no further questions.
Thank you.
Ross?
Okay, defense is about to question her. But so she sent the note to the brother, to the shooter, or where he was, and did not send it to her mom at that point. And she says because she thought they were together. So do you guys, oh, we just hit 10. Yay. Oh, can I show you guys? Let me see. We'll come back to this. Doo-doo-doo. Thank you, you guys. Oh my God, so amazing. I want it to be live with you all when it happened. Can you guys see that? There it is. Yay. Okay, back to what we're actually here for. So defense is going to come up and it gets a little spicy. Now, mind you, this is her brother's attorney, right? And they're all going to trial at once. It's unlike the Adelsons in that, like they're all 3 sitting in jail. Her mom, her 2 siblings. Uh-oh. Hold on.
Rachel, we've been able to meet and talk on a few occasions, correct?
Correct.
And I'm going to go through some of this testimony with you again and ask you to elaborate on some of these subjects. But the prosecution has established that You knew what was going on with Kate and Matt and their relationship, right?
Yes.
You knew it had been deteriorating.
Yes.
You knew that it had been deteriorating to the point that the family, including yourself, had concerns.
Yes.
You knew Kate was worried and wanted to get away from California, right?
Yes.
You were in contact and able to look at a Find My Pinging circumstance that had to do with an AirTag, right?
Correct.
Engaged that, communicated with the family about it, right?
Yes.
Talked to them and knew that Matt was coming on the 12th of July, right?
Yes.
Knew who was in the home and what might be going on there by communicating, by texting. It sounds like some phone calls, correct?
Correct.
And then there were some communications even after, because of course you learned that the shooting occurred, right?
Correct.
You had communications about that. You were worried and actually concerned for your family, right?
Yes.
Notwithstanding all that, did police officers ever contact you and ask you ever to interview you as a witness in this homicide case?
No, never.
Well, let's see if we can find a little bit more out now. Okay, I'm going to unpack a little bit of what we just sort of went through on a bullet circumstance, and that is this, and pardon that pun, but whatever the relationship was going on with Matt and Kate, it had gotten bad by June of 2024, right?
Yes.
Why is the defense making bullet jokes when his client has admitted to shooting somebody 8 times?
And you were asking questions about what you observed of Matt or how much you saw of it. And if I understand your answers, they are at least you saw agitation. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
That the relationship, what you could observe had, is it fair to say, Kate on edge?
Yes.
Did it have other family members on edge?
Yes.
And let's talk about what I mean by on edge. Concerned that Matt may become angry or may become physical with Kate?
That's correct.
I mean, were you and the family, as you've discussed it, concerned as well that Kate's out in California on what you described as a pretty remote area, right?
Yeah.
With only Matt, correct?
Correct.
And
Two children.
sounds like, and the children that were already described in the opening statement are young children, right?
Correct.
And in connection with that escalating concern from Kate and the family, she ultimately determines to get the kids and leave rather suddenly from California, right?
Yes.
And in discussing this whole situation as a family, including especially with Kate, were you aware that she felt like she better leave suddenly
Yes.
because of the uncertainty of how it might react if she talked with him about the fact she was leaving?
Yes.
So she scoots from California with the kids to her mother's house, Tracy's house in Utah, right?
Correct.
Now, you had talked a bit about Matt and what you knew about him, and it was mostly from family events, meaning your family, right?
Correct.
And we're going to talk a minute about this trip to Disneyland. But for instance, you'd go to Disneyland and Kate and Matt would come with the kids.
Yes.
All right. Let's move to that because that was in February, is that right?
Yes, it was.
So in February, a trip is planned for everyone to go to Disneyland, right?
Yes, as a Christmas present from my mom, Tracy, to the rest of the family.
Your mom arranged it, right?
Correct.
Ultimately, who went?
It was all 7 of her kids as well as herself, and extended to the in-laws of the married and unmarried.
Okay, and the kids?
Yes, the 2 children were my children, like all the nieces and nephews, including the 2 children, Matt and Kate.
So quite a big group of people are going to Disneyland, and that includes, and you had talked about her, you meant Tracy. You meant your mother, all of your mother's kids.
Yes, all 7, of Tracy's children.
Because I don't want to go try to ask you to name everybody, and that the point is everybody went, and Matt went,
Correct.
and Kate went, and their kids went,
Mhm.
and that's a yes.
Sorry,
By the way, you were there, you saw, they drove Matt's pickup truck, right?
they did.
They being Kate and Matt and their kids.
Yes, correct.
So they bring that pickup truck to Disneyland.
Yes.
Now, with all these kids and with all this big group, ultimately an idea was arrived at that maybe it'd be a good idea to put AirTags in clothing or other items that would help you track where the kids were going to be.
Correct.
Was that an idea that you parents all agreed with and came up together?
Yes.
And that ultimately occurred to at least some extent. The kids wore a number of AirTags. Were there like a package of 6, I think?
6 or 8.
8.
Yeah.
Sorry, you didn't buy them.
No, I'm not.
But it was a group agreement that would be a good idea and to utilize them, right?
Yes.
And when I say group, parents especially who wanted to keep an eye on their kids.
Correct.
It doesn't take much Googling to know that good idea is all over the internet and you see it happening all the time at Disneyland, right?
Correct.
So one thing about that dynamic in February at Disneyland with AirTags was that Kate and Matt were not able to utilize them themselves, right?
That's correct.
And that's because they have Android devices and didn't have the capability.
Yes.
So should they have had an AirTag, or if somebody had an AirTag or handed one to them, unlikely for them to have used it.
That's correct.
So this, I know, my lovelies, we talked about in the chat. Some of you guys have said you are on Androids and there's an app or something. So she's not speaking in absolution, right? She's saying specifically for them. So whatever you guys have, apparently the folks in this party who had Androids could not detect them or be alerted that they were around, which, yeah, because someone said that Matt would have heard it, and that doesn't make sense if he was driving for 10 hours and it's like pinging that there's an AirTag near you. So anyway, that's her testimony. And as for the good sister, I got my eye on her. I don't know. All of this communication about this AirTag just because she was nervous about where Matt was. I mean, her brother was at the house with her sister and her mother. I think they just don't want her to go to jail. I mean, who would want to go to prison? But you know how you avoid that? Don't do crimes. Oh my God. Okay.
They just left it in their pickup truck.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, then we've already established that that's in February. Let me ask you something about California that I think you know about, although it hasn't come up yet, I don't think, on direct. You knew your mother to be friends with some elderly people who lived in California?
Yes.
And was one of them Amy?
Correct.
And her friend, her husband, and what's his name? Pete. Now, Pete and Amy were ill, weren't they?
Correct.
Your mother, Tracy, was friends with them and would go try to help and assist them.
Yes.
In April, you were aware that she went to do that to help Amy?
Yes.
And that's because Peter died, right?
Yeah, he suddenly passed, and she was there to help Amy, who was ill, with any grieving processes and things that she needed help with.
And sadly, Amy ultimately also passed, right?
Yeah, shortly after Pete, she did pass.
And your mother, I think you've already said that was her visitation to Amy in California was somewhat regular, but then obviously when Amy passed, that's the last time she was there in connection with that family.
Correct.
But didn't she take a real role in trying to shut down accounts that were that renewed themselves and take care of the affairs of the estate?
I am unsure about the financial aspect, but I do know that she did help do a estate sale. She helped arrange stuff with finances in other ways, but as far as accounts go, I'm not sure.
Then when your mom was there, you knew that she also visited Kate and Matt, right?
Yes.
So sometimes she just went to California to visit them, right?
That's right.
But also if she went to visit Amy and Pete, especially including in April, during that time, is your understanding and belief that she also went to Matt and Kate's house?
Yes.
All right, back to, I won't really lead up to the 12th because you testified about it, but when the 12th comes and Kate's been at your mom's house and you all have been around her and with her for, at that point, roughly 3 weeks, okay?
Yes.
You've described already that your understanding from all the communications, some of which were elicited by the prosecutor. Would it be fair to say that Kate was nervous?
Correct.
Were you nervous for her?
Yes.
In communications with the family, do you know whether Terrell Ann and other people in your family were nervous for your sister Kate?
Yes, they were.
Is that based on your concerns about what you were learning about her having left and Matt maybe being angry?
Yes.
Do you recall once when we spoke describing Matt and your concerns about Matt as being very unpredictable?
That's correct.
There was some communication in one of the exhibits that you were shown that was text communication. And it involved a statement about Kate saying she got him to come here,
Right.
talked him into coming out.
Yes.
Let me unpack that a little bit because Matt wanted her to come to California as they were trying to deal about meeting back up again.
Yes.
And this is the remote home in California where it would just be those two. Is that right?
Correct. The four of them.
And when she's here, Kate here, that house has Kevin living there, right?
Yes,
It's Tracy's house, your mother's.
yes,
Other people would stay there, right?
yes,
Rory would go over. I guess we better be clear. Aurora goes by Rory, right?
yes, she does.
And you talked about a pretty tight family unit that is really kind of always around each other.
Yes,
And you knew that Matt wanted Kate to go there,
yes,
and Kate wanted Matt to have to come to Utah, right?
yes,
Was part of all of that, as you guys talked about it, that desire to make sure that when he's here, there would be other people around Kate?
yes,
Now, one way that you were able to help make sure that when Matt arrived here, in consideration of what you've described as him being unpredictable, you had the convenience of this AirTag situation, right?
yes,
This AirTag you learned, and you could learn by looking at Find My, was in the truck
yes,
because you could watch it move.
right, yes,
So towards all the ends of your family and the concerns you had for when Matt might arrive, conveniently you were able to see.
yes,
You did. You looked at it and watched.
frequently, yes,
Was that out of concern?
yes,
Was it your desire, and did you discuss with the family to be able to use that to make sure that you would know when he got there?
yes,
And they're getting a little emotional. And I'm gonna stop and let you. I'm sorry. Are you okay? What are you feeling? Why are you emotional?
just the safety of my family was in question, and that was concerning, and not knowing how Matt would be behavior-wise or a kid in drinking was just concerning.
By the way, did you know him to have a history of heavy drinking?
I would consider him an alcoholic based on how much I'd seen him drink this.
Was there generally understood that he was a heavy drinker as well,
Yes.
as what you saw? So your understanding and belief that made him even more unpredictable if he was drinking?
Yes.
Now, when I say you all talking in the family, as the prosecutor already established, how tight-knit, how much you communicate. When we talk about that family unit communicating those sorts of things, it includes Kevin, right?
Yes.
Kevin lived there. He lived there for about 3 years by that point in July of this year, right?
Yes, correct.
So would it be, do you fairly interpret that statement about talk Maddie into coming as having won the battle between her having to go there versus him having to come here where everyone would be around?
Yeah, yes,
When you also described it as you knew he was coming, seen him, were able to view on Find My. Rory was at the house that night,
yes, she was home that day.
meaning home at Tracy's house.
Correct.
And you talked about inviting her to come and giving her the option of coming over to your house, right?
Right, on my own decision, I had extended that invitation for her to come spend the night at my house.
Why?
Because Aurora doesn't have friends, honestly, so she doesn't have anywhere else to go should she be uncomfortable or not want to be present while any kind of uncomfortable situation was happening.
All right, we're going to take a quick palate cleanser. I tried to gift you one, Bright Sun, but it doesn't let me direct it. So the way to join, you need to be on a desktop, or you have to go, if you're on your phone, you have to go into your browser. You can't do it from within the app, at least not on the Apple Store app. I don't know about Android. And then there'll be a button that says join, and you click there. But maybe somebody else will give some. So give it a second. You're missing out on icons right now because it's not like there's another live going on, a members only live. So you're just missing out on icons for it. I get it, but okay. These look like real tears to me, but I don't know that I believe that. I mean, I don't know, Matthew. Maybe he was a raging alcoholic who was super violent and they had all of those. It just makes me sus that he had a knife in the wrong hand, going the wrong way. His slippers were off. It's not giving like I came in a rage. There's voice calls that are recorded of him like, oh, I'm almost there, and he's worried about not dripping oil in the driveway, right, which is respectful. It just doesn't sound like he's about to go in the door waving the 4-4 or slashing. It's not giving that for me.
And if it were myself, I would have hoped that someone would have extended that invitation to me.
So that a concern for what might happen when Matt arrives?
Yes.
One more subject. And you knew that at some point in time, your mother had purchased a firearm, right?
Yes.
And had you seen that firearm?
In a safe, yes.
It was kept in a safe box, in a gun safe box, right?
Correct.
But you knew she had purchased it, and I think you knew that. Oh, well, let's talk about the time. It's long before, maybe years before July of this year, right?
Definitely years before.
And that it was because she had a boyfriend of sorts or such that became very concerning and unpredictable to her.
That's right.
Now, when Kate came, were you aware that then she hid that even though it was in a box because there were going to be kids around the house?
I don't recall.
Okay. You might not know that. You obviously didn't live there.
Right. Yes.
Thank you.
Can you read back?
Yeah, can we have just a second?
Sure.
So, is she taking a break? What do you guys think, credibility wise? And also, I wonder if the other two are watching like remotely. Can they see what's going on? How do they get updates? We can just skip ahead here. Oh, I can see his jail uniform underneath there. He's just got this sweater on top. I don't know why I thought they dressed him out. I know Jose Baez dresses out Shayna Gardner when they go into court. But maybe he was a little chilly. Okay, let's get to the state.
Sorry.
What did they fight about in their marriage? What were the problems?
From my understanding, it was all very little bickering back and forth. Maybe the food order was wrong, or Katie distributed the takeout and to the wrong person. It was all just very, from the outside, very small things that just seemed to hit nerves for both of them.
Did they have money problems?
Yes, they did.
Were either of them working?
Kate was a stay-at-home mom for the 2 children, where Matt was employed, to my understanding, but I had known him to not go to work very often, as far as I've been told.
Okay, were you aware of any affairs between either of them?
I was made aware of Catherine Kate's affair after her arrival to.
Okay, so they had bickering about little things. She had no job. So also another incentive to have him dead instead of, I shouldn't say that. She worked at home. She was a homemaker. Sorry. She did not work outside the home. She didn't have a W-2 job is what I meant. Raising kids is a job. But so, yeah, she'd get all the money, right? Versus a divorce where she wouldn't be able to leave the state and she would have to be gainfully employed.
I had no knowledge of that prior.
Do you know if they ever thought about it or if Matt was aware of that?
I have heard audio recordings from Katie that she had sent to me, I think on Facebook Messenger or texts, about Matt openly being upset about the affair, as well as accusing that being the source of a lot of issues, yes.
Okay. But just accusing her of affairs?
Yeah, mainly the single one. I'm not sure if there's more than one, but the one that was more commonly known, I think the man was named Jason.
And she was having an
affairs
affair.
that happened previously in California. Were you aware of any of those?
No, that's it.
Okay. Did you ever know Kevin to carry a gun?
No.
And when Kate left, did Matt ever try to contact you?
He had called me one time, I believe once he found out that Katie and the children had started their drive one day and notified that they were leaving. He called and I did not answer, but he did leave me a voicemail.
Okay, and this is after Katie had left to take in the children without telling you, is that correct?
That's right.
So just she really didn't even tell him. Your understanding is that she didn't tell him where she was going or what was going on.
Until, I don't know the exact time, but at least 3 to 6 hours into her drive until she felt like she was far enough away to be safe to then tell him that, yes.
Okay, did he leave you a voicemail?
I'm sorry.
Did Matthew leave you a voicemail?
He did.
And tell me about that. What did he say?
It was maybe less than 10 seconds. It was very brief. Straight to the point. I was just saying, "Hi, Rachel, this is Matthew Restelli. I need you to call me back." It was just.
Did he sound angry?
He didn't sound angry. He sounded urgent.
Okay, did he say anything threatening?
No, he did not.
Okay. Have you ever known or heard about Matt being physical with Kate in their marriage?
No, Kate never confided me in any of that.
Okay, did you never know Matt to threaten Kate with physical violence in their marriage?
Not that I'm aware of.
So what makes you so nervous about Matt coming out if you're not aware of any physical violence or any threatening violence or anything in the past that Matt's done?
Matt, with his drinking, just that alone did bring up a lot of concern for me. He felt like his temper could go from 0 to 100 very quick. And it would just boomerang, be running back and forth. There was an instance that Matt had confided in me, telling me that he hid a gun underneath a kitchen sink that I was not to tell Katie about. So that also raised a flag, knowing that he would openly do that. And I also did not trust him with firearms due to his drinking, and I wasn't sure if by any chance he would maybe bring one with. I'm not sure, but that was a concern.
Didn't they live kind of like in a rural area?
Welcome.
And weren't there lots? Did you ever see more guns at Matt's place, or you talk about having lots of guns?
He never openly really talked about having a lot of guns or pulled them out, no.
But you were aware he had guns.
Honestly, I didn't really think about it until he had brought it up to me in confidence that day in the kitchen.
So everything I've read about him, he's an outdoorsman. He's a sportsman. It doesn't surprise me that he had guns. I'm calling bullshit on her saying she didn't really think about it.
But he wasn't. Was it like in a threatening conversation, or?
No, it almost seems like he was bragging about it. He seemed very proud that it was there and hidden.
And you talk about his temper would go 0 to 100 when he was drinking. Why did you say that?
It just felt like small things that, like myself, maybe if we were being wrong, or if my husband had a habit that just bugged me in the moment, I wouldn't have reacted in that extreme of a way. It would have been a lot more mild. Whereas with him, it felt like it was made up the whole thing.
But does he get more kind of annoying, or is it more threatening? I mean, is he like petty?
It's more aggressive. It's more, he gets loud, he gets verbal and aggressive. I haven't witnessed anything physical, but it was enough to make me scared.
What do you mean by like, what would he say if the food order was wrong? What would he say?
It would just be what the explicit, like, just, he kind of rant. I couldn't quite quote him on it, but he was just angry rants.
Would he rant at who?
A lot of it would be directed towards Katie. I feel like because a lot of like that stuff was her responsibility to get the food or to prepare food.
Okay. And did doctors take your phone?
I'm sorry?
Did police officers at some point take your phone?
Yes, they did.
Do you recall when that was?
I would like to say it was a few weeks after Kevin's arrest.
Okay. If it was July 17th, 2024, that.
When was that?
Yeah, I feel like it's all a mush in my head. So yeah, if you've got that date, then yeah.
Okay. Do you remember a couple of detectives coming out to talk to you when that happened?
Yes.
Do you remember if they asked you whether or not you'd like to talk to them?
They asked if I would like to, they said the prosecution would like to ask questions. And at that time I didn't have legal counsel, and I said that I would politely decline the questions.
Okay. So they did ask if you wanted to talk. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And you told them no because you wanted an attorney.
that's correct.
So is one of the reasons you were concerned that Matt could be mad?
That was key because he was getting it on the record. I don't know if you guys noticed when defense said, did they ever question you? I did, because I was like, oh, well, why haven't they questioned her? But so she just said when they said they wanted to question her, she declined. What did she say? She politely declined because she wanted an attorney. Well, girl, when you got the attorney, what happened, ma'am? What happened? So, yeah, she lawyered up. I mean, good. That's what do we learn in true crime? Even if you didn't do a thing, do not talk. So that's what we got here. But she's still sus to me.
Is because anybody would be mad, right?
Yes.
If somebody's wife or spouse took the kids and just left, without telling? Wouldn't anybody be mad?
Correct.
So, I mean, there's nothing more special about Matt that would make him more dangerous than anybody else, would it?
I object at this point. It's just pure argument.
No further questions.
But I'm with you. Who wouldn't be mad?
Very brief on that subject, as of course I'm required to limit myself to my rule. You were asked about knowing whether Matt had a gun. Do you recall learning about Matt using one on an animal?
That's correct.
What was that? What did he do?
At my baby shower, I would like to say it was 2023, spring 2023. Matt and Katie were invited to celebrate the baby shower, and he arrived very openly showing bruises on his body and telling a story that Kate and Matt had obtained a dog very recently. It had to be within the last maybe week. I couldn't tell the exact day. At some point, the dog either maybe attempted to attack Matt or do something or cause harm, or he was unhappy with it at something. But the end result was Matt shooting the dog.
In terms of having a gun, I don't believe in that anymore, but you also knew Matt was a hunter, a fisherman. He lived in the rural area of California. You knew that he had knives, right?
I would assume yes, but being the location where he's at and his hobbies that he had, yes.
Thank you. So,
Just real quick on that last.
There's a picture of him with a knife.
So tell me, what did he say exactly about the dog?
As far as I can remember, it was him coming into the home, and I heard this story like 3 or 4 times. He couldn't stop saying it, and pretty much taking off his shirt to show everybody his body. But
Did he?
Surely-
Sorry. So did he say like where he got the dog?
I don't have an understanding where he got it. I don't think it was like a shelter. I think it might have been a private sale between another person.
But it wasn't like a puppy.
I believe the dog was young, but I couldn't say. I don't think it was like an 8-week-old dog or anything like that.
Okay, but he was showing you bruises on his body.
Yes.
And where were those bruises?
Those were on his torso. That's why he was lifting up his shirt.
Okay, they were up pretty high.
Yeah.
What kind of bruises were they?
I honestly didn't see him a lot. They were just dark bruises on his midsection torso, mainly on one side, but I don't recall which side.
So it was significant bruising.
You could see it, yes, when he did lift his shirt.
Okay, so it probably wasn't a puppy, correct?
Assuming that potentially, yeah.
And so didn't he basically say he shot the dog in self-defense?
He never said self-defense. He just said that he shot it, but
Said it because it was attacking him?
yeah.
Okay, see, now she's playing dumb. Like, she wanted to just leave it out there like he's out here shooting dogs. But if he's all bruised up and it just happened, you know the next day what those bruises are going to look like. I'm not blaming her. I just feel like it's disingenuous how defense pulled that out and kind of left that. I know they like to do that. I know they like to drop little bombs and run. Throw the rock and hide the hand is what my mama would say.
Mr. Grunt, any other?
Look at her face. She's like, oh, thank God. So trial is going to be interesting because that was like a rebuttal of a rebuttal of a rebuttal. Like, defense asked questions 3 times, right? So they had a direct, cross. Maybe it was both their witnesses. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Anyway, dog bites are usually on arms or legs, speaking from personal experience. I think the dog was like wrestling with him. I don't know. But I just feel like when she's like, oh, he killed a dog, that's how I knew he had a gun. Okay, ma'am. I'll show you guys. I think I have in the carousel some of the pictures. Oh, wait, I stopped it. Let me just see really fast. If I scroll through here. If it'll move for me. That's their property there when she was like, I don't know if they had acreage. They're near. You tell me you surprised this man has a knife and a gun around his house? Of course he has a knife. He's a fisherman. My stepdad fished. Of course they have a pocket, at least a pocket knife. Okay. So yeah, there was too much distancing. I'm not going to say that I felt like she was being dishonest. There was a lot of distancing of stuff that she kind of didn't want to answer. And I'm sure her lawyer prepared her, which is good. But I wanted to show you guys that because that I had questions about, like, why wasn't she ever interrogated? Was she ever a suspect? Was she included? And so, yeah, she lawyered up so they don't have any other, they don't have any statements from her without counsel. That was a tiny fish. I hope he's throwing it back. Some of those places, well, at least in my hometown, it's just like catch and release. It's just for the sport of the fishing part. So, or it has to be X amount of size in order for you to, like, when you check out, in order for you to leave with the fish. So if it's under, I don't even remember. It's been a while. It's been some, I was going to say centuries, not centuries. It's been some decades since I've been fishing, but it's got to meet that size or you can't take it out. And so you throw those back. It was a small fish. I didn't want to shame the dead man. So yeah. Oh yeah. Trout farms. Oh my God. We always used to get catfish. Snapper, my mom's favorite. It's red snapper. Anyway. So yeah, I just don't find her, and I get it. Listen, who among us would have like just the wherewithal for our siblings to be on trial and to like filter all that out and just, I mean, she's a good witness. She followed the judge's directions about answering the question. Don't go into extraneous conversations. And I mean, she'll do. So we get a sense of what we'll see at trial with at least with that. But the thing is, so the brother is claiming self-defense. It just isn't leaning that way. And then I feel like, who knows with the jury? I'm not the juror, obviously. I did get a jury questionnaire the other day. I'm like, such a nerd. I was excited. It's not even like to report. It's just a questionnaire of like to make it to the next level. So I'm like, oh, I wonder if it's a big case. Because the last time I had jury duty, I did not get a questionnaire. Anyway, what was I talking about? I'm not a juror. So I would be, I would be suspicious of that young lady. And I would just want to see, like, if you're shaming the victim, does that mean motive? Do you know? Like, I always, it's like Sarah did it, like, I mean, to the extreme, but you always kind of get a sense, even in the Adelson case, right? They tried to shame Dan Markel. Oh, he could be aggressive. He could be. So what does that have to do with why he was shot in broad daylight in his face? You know what I mean? So yeah, we will see. I hope I get to go. My like what do you call it? There's my job, my employer pays for jury duty. So it's always like, even if I weren't a true crime fan, I want to do it because I feel like there's enough we need smart people on juries, not to like toot my own horn about my own intelligence, but I understand what's going on. I'll just say like that, right? And if we're always trying to get out of it, is there really a jury of their peers? Do you know? Like, God forbid, what you or I might not do a crime, but be wrongly accused. And who would we want on the jury? Like, we want people with common sense, So anyway, but I get, like, some people can't afford to do it if their employer doesn't. And I'm not judging anybody, but that's kind of, I know a lot of very smart people who are like, I would never do it. And I'm just like, that's a shame, I was the foreperson when I was on the last, the only one in New York jury. So it was interesting. And one of the alternates, once we read our verdict, I don't know why she stayed around. And then she came and like yelled at me of like, you guys didn't do this. And I'm like, girl, you weren't even in the room. Go. So yeah. Are you a true crime fan? Well, attorney. I wasn't asked that last time if I was a true crime fan. I'm not volunteering. Nobody asked that. They were suing. It was a husband and a wife. They were suing a hospital. the hospital had performed surgery on the husband. The wife worked at the hospital. So their question was, could you sue your employer? And I was like, oh yeah, I've sued like 4 employers. And they were like, you're on. Like, I guess some people are in deference to doctors. But they probably regretted in the end having me on there, because I think they, one of the things is you can't, sympathy is not supposed to play in your decision. And I felt like they were leaning hard on sympathy to get money. And I was like, anyway, that's a whole peer. Did anybody do moot court in high school? I liked that. And like mock trials. Those were fun. Yeah. Remember when you're just young and your brain is like bubbly and shiny, and like you don't have stress. The only thing you do is like solve your problems at school. I think it was that way for me until maybe 9th grade, and then all hell broke loose. But those are good times. Yes. Yeah, that's super cool, ML. And junior and senior high. Look at you. So 4 years of it. That's kind of badass. Oh my. All right, guys. Well, that's it. We've been on here. I kept you a little longer. Hopefully I didn't talk too much. But we all have a good foundation of like what's happening, because now I'm expecting something similar for the sister, Kevin's sister, the wife, Katie, and the mom, Tracy. So we will see. And I'm expecting to get, not on this case, but Donna Adelson notes. Someone was telling me it's on someone's Patreon account. I didn't need to listen to the video again, but that I can purchase some of her notes and from her journal so we can read that. I know like plastic surgery was on there and some others, like she was getting her arms done. And so I just want to get my hands on them. And then if I can get my hands on the text messages back and forth for this case, I'll read those too. I love reading other people's stuff. So yeah, we'll see if we can get our hands on that. But thank you for hanging out with me. Thanks for being here as the toll of 10,000 hit. We made it to 10K. Yay. I couldn't have done it without you, literally. So thank you. Thank you. I hope all is well with you. I hope who's ever warm wants to be warm, whoever is cold wants to be cold. And have a fantastic Wednesday, guys. I'll see you later. Toodles.